Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Serenity *, his hands clasped behind his back. The large screen in front of him showed something humans had waited centuries to see. An alien ship. "Sir, they're sending a signal again," said Officer Sun, her fingers moving quickly across her control panel. "Put it on screen," Hyun said. His voice was calm, but his heart beat fast. The screen changed to show a tall, thin figure with pale blue skin. Its head was hairless, with large black eyes that didn't blink. It wore a silver suit that seemed to move like water. "I am Nex, ambassador of the Marin," the alien said. Its voice sounded almost like music. "We come with peaceful purpose." Captain Hyun took a deep breath. "I am Captain Hyun of the Earth United Space Fleet. We welcome you to our solar system." The alien tilted its head, studying Hyun with those unblinking eyes. "Your biological signals indicate increased heart rate and higher body temperature. Are you experiencing distress?" Hyun smiled. "No, Ambassador Nex. This is excitement. It's our first meeting with another intelligent species." "Excitement," Nex repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "An emotional response. Interesting." The Marin ship had appeared 3 days ago, just beyond Mars' orbit. It was huge, about 5 times the size of the Serenity *, and shaped like a perfect silver oval. Earth governments had quickly sent the Serenity * to make first contact. "We have been watching your planet for 73 of your years," Nex said. "Your species is unique among those we have encountered." Officer Sun shot a worried look at Captain Hyun. They had met other aliens. "How are we unique?" Hyun asked carefully. "Your reproduction methods," Nex said. "They are inefficient but produce unexpected variety." Hyun blinked in surprise. "You mean having children?" "Yes. Creating new life through random genetic mixing, then spending many years raising these new beings. It is not efficient." "How do the Marin reproduce?" asked Dr. Kim, the ship's science officer, who had been quiet until now. Nex seemed pleased with the question. "We are born in Genesis chambers. Our genetic material is carefully chosen and improved with each generation. New Marin are created for specific roles: scientists, explorers, leaders. We emerge fully developed and are immediately useful to society." A cold feeling settled in Captain Hyun's stomach. "You are manufactured." "Created," Nex corrected, "with purpose and design, not left to chance like your method." The bridge grew quiet. Hyun thought of his own daughter back on Earth. She was 5 years old, with her mother's eyes and his stubborn nature. She wasn't designed for any purpose except to be herself. "We would like to establish formal relations with Earth," Nex continued, "and study your reproduction methods more closely." "I'll need to speak with Earth government," Hyun said, "but we welcome peaceful exchange." "Excellent. We will send coordinates for your ship to dock with ours." Nex paused. "Captain Hyun, our scans show you have contributed genetic material to create a new human. What is the term for your relationship to this new being?" "She's my daughter," Hyun said softly. "And what purpose was she designed for?" Hyun smiled, thinking of his little girl's laugh, her drawings on his refrigerator, the way she danced when she thought no one was watching. "She wasn't designed for any purpose, Ambassador Nex. She was born because her mother and I loved each other. She'll choose her own purpose." Nex was silent for a long moment. Fascinating. Most inefficient, yet fascinating. As the communication ended, Dr. Kim moved closer to Captain Hyun. "Sir," she whispered, "the way they talk about reproduction, it's disturbing." Hyun nodded slowly. "They see children as products, not people." "What do you think they really want from us?" Sun asked. Hyun looked at the Marin ship on the screen. It was beautiful but cold, like a perfect machine. "I don't know," he said, "but I think we're about to find out." Dr. Jae-ho Kim adjusted his uniform as the shuttle docked with the Marin mothership. Beside him, Commander Suk Park sat with perfect posture, her face calm but her eyes alert. "Remember," Suk said quietly, "we represent all of Earth now." Jai-Ho nodded. He was a scientist, not a diplomat. But his knowledge of biology made him the best choice for this meeting. He was excited but also afraid. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. 2 Marins stood waiting for them. They looked almost the same, tall, thin, with blue skin and large black eyes. "Welcome," said the Marin on the left. "I am Taro, Chief Scientist. This is Lim, Security Coordinator." Jai-Ho and Suk stepped onto the Marin ship. The air was cool and smelled like metal. Everything was clean and silver, with soft blue lights. "Thank you for having us," Suk said. "We look forward to learning about your people." Taro led them down a long hallway. "The High Council is eager to begin our cultural exchange. Your species has many unusual qualities." Jai-Ho noticed there were no personal items anywhere. No pictures, no decorations. Everything looked the same. "How many Marin live on this ship?" he asked. "This vessel houses 4,293 Marin," Lim answered, "each with a specific function." They entered a large room with walls made of clear material that looked like glass. Inside were rows of tube-shaped containers filled with blue liquid. Jai-Ho stepped closer and gasped. Inside each tube floated what looked like a Marin body, but smaller. "You have found our Genesis chamber," Taro said, sounding pleased. "This is where new Marin are created." "These are children?" Suk asked, her voice tight. "They are new units," Taro corrected. "Not children as you understand the term. They are being grown with genetic patterns designed for engineering work. Our ship needs 26 new engineers." Jai-Ho stared at the tubes. The small bodies inside had tubes connected to their heads and chests. Their eyes were closed. "How long do they stay in these tubes?" he asked. "Until they are fully formed and programmed, approximately 6 of your months," Taro explained. "They will emerge with all necessary knowledge already in their minds." "They don't learn? Grow up?" Suk asked. Lim tilted his head. "That would be inefficient. They are created knowing their purpose." Jai-Ho thought of human babies, how they needed years of care and teaching, how they cried and laughed and made mistakes. It seemed messy compared to this clean, quiet room, but also more human. "We would like to see your reproductive facilities," Taro said suddenly. Suk blinked in surprise. "We don't have facilities. Humans have babies in hospitals or at home." "But where do you design them?" Lim asked. "How do you program their functions?" "We don't," Jai-Ho said. "Human children are born with basic instincts, but they learn and choose their own paths as they grow." The Marin looked at each other. Jai-Ho couldn't read their expressions, but he felt they were confused. "Inefficient," Taro said finally. "Yet your species has survived. This is what interests us." They moved to another room with a large round table. On the walls were pictures of Earth, cities, forests, schools, families. "You have been watching us for a long time," Suk said, looking at the images. "Yes," Taro admitted. "Your reproduction method creates unexpected results. Some humans show abilities and traits that were not in their genetic programming." "Because we aren't programmed," Jai-Ho said. "We're raised. We're loved." "Love," Lin repeated. "This concept is central to human reproduction." "It's central to human everything," Suk said. The Marin were quiet for a moment. Then Taro spoke. "We wish to study this more closely. Would some humans be willing to provide genetic samples? Perhaps even allow us to observe human reproduction and child development?" Jai-Ho felt suddenly cold. The way Taro said it sounded wrong somehow. "That would require careful discussion," Suk said carefully. "Humans value privacy in these matters." "Of course," Taro said. "We have much to learn from each other." As they continued their tour, Jai-Ho couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The Marin were polite, but something didn't feel right. When he looked back at the Genesis chamber, He thought he saw one of the small bodies in the tubes open its eyes. It looked sad. Daly sat in the small, dark room, his eyes fixed on the screens in front of him. As an intelligence officer for Earth United, it was his job to look for things others might miss, and he had found something. 6 months had passed since the Marin arrived. Their ships now orbited Earth, and Marin visitors walked the streets of major cities. The aliens called it a cultural exchange, but Da had his doubts. "Computer, show me the data from last week again," he said. The screen lit up with images of Marin scientists taking samples from willing human volunteers. Blood samples, skin samples, hair samples, all legal, all with proper permission. But Da had noticed something strange. The Marin were collecting more than they reported. His door opened, and Captain Hyun walked in. He looked tired. "You said it was urgent," Hyun said. Da nodded. "Look at this." He pointed to a list on his screen. "These are all the official samples the Marin have collected in the past month." Hyun looked at the list. "Seems normal. They're curious about us." "Now look at this." Da pulled up another list. "These are the actual samples, based on my own count and reports from security cameras." Hyun's eyes widened. The second list was 3 times longer than the first. "They're focused on reproductive cells," Da continued. "Eggs, sperm, umbilical cord blood, and they're taking them in secret." Hyun sat down slowly. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes. And there's more." Da pulled up an encrypted file he had found. "I broke into their communication system. It wasn't easy, but I found this message to their home world." The message was translated to English. "Human reproduction continues to show potential. Their random genetic mixing creates unexpected traits we cannot replicate in Genesis chambers. Recommend accelerated collection before humans realize our true purpose." Hyun read it twice. "This doesn't sound like cultural exchange." "No," Da agreed, "and I found references to other species in their records. At least 7 other alien races the Marin have encountered." 7. Where are they now? Why haven't they contacted us?" Da looked grim. "That's just it. There's no evidence they exist anymore. The records suggest the Marin either took what they wanted from these species or eliminated them if they resisted." The room fell silent. Finally, Hyun spoke. "We need to recall our people from their ships. Dr. Kim and Commander Park are still up there." Da nodded. "I already sent an urgent but quiet recall order. They should be back tonight." "Good. We need to." Hyun's communicator beeped. He answered it. "Captain Hyun here." "Sir," said a worried voice. "The Marin High Council has requested an emergency meeting with Earth leaders tomorrow. They say they have an important announcement." After the call ended, Dai and Hyun looked at each other. "They know we found out," Da said. "Maybe. Or maybe they're ready for the next phase of whatever they're planning." Hyun stood up. "We need to prepare. If they're collecting our genetic material without permission, what else might they do?" Later that night, Dr. Kim and Commander Park returned to Earth. They met with Dai and Hyun in a secure room deep under the city. "The Marin are planning something," Suk said immediately. "Their behavior has changed in the past week. More tests, more questions about our children." Jaiho nodded. "They seem especially interested in how human emotions affect our development. They kept asking about love, family bonds, even how parents feel when their children are hurt." "Did you see any signs of weapons? Military buildup?" Hyun asked. Suk hesitated, not directly. "But I saw them converting part of their ship. Large spaces that could hold many people." "Or specimens," Da said quietly. The room fell silent as they all considered what this meant. "Tomorrow at the meeting," Hyun said finally, "I think we'll learn what they really want from us." Outside, the Marin ships glowed softly in the night sky. They looked beautiful from a distance, like stars you could reach out and touch. But now they looked like something else to Da. They looked like hunters, waiting to strike. The meeting room was large and filled with light. On one side sat the Earth United Council, 12 men and women who represented all the people of Earth. On the other side sat 5 Marin, their blue skin shining under the lights. In the back of the room, Captain Hyun stood with Dr. Kim, Commander Park, and Da Lee. They watched carefully as the meeting began. The head Marin stood up. He was taller than the others, with markings on his face that looked like silver lines. "I am High Chancellor Vos of the Marin Collective," he said. "We thank you for this meeting." The President of Earth United, a woman named Han, nodded politely. "We welcome continued peaceful exchange between our peoples." Vos tilted his head. "Yes. About that exchange. We have studied your species for 6 months now. We have reached a conclusion." The room grew quiet. Da looked at Hyun, both thinking the same thing. "Here it comes. Humans are unique among species we have encountered," Vos continued. "Your reproduction method creates genetic variations we cannot achieve in our genesis chambers. This is valuable to us." President Han frowned slightly. "We are happy to share scientific knowledge." "Knowledge is not sufficient," Vos interrupted. "We require direct access to human genetic material. We must study the process of human reproduction and development more fully." "What exactly are you asking for?" Han's voice was careful, controlled. "We require 10,000 human volunteers to give reproductive cells. We also need 1,000 human children of various ages for study. And we need 50 human couples to reproduce under our observation." The room exploded with shocked voices. President Han raised her hand for quiet. "What you're asking is not possible," she said firmly. "Human reproduction is private. Our children are not research subjects." Vos seemed confused by the response. "We offer fair exchange. We will share our technology. You will advance by centuries." "That's not the point," said another council member. "What you're asking violates our most basic values. Human reproduction is about love and family, not laboratory experiments." "Love," Vos repeated. "This concept again. It is inefficient. It serves no practical purpose in reproduction." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "With respect, High Chancellor, you're wrong. Love is not separate from human reproduction. It's central to it. Our emotional bonds shape who we become." Vos stared at her for a long moment. "Then your species must reconsider its priorities. The Marin need what you have. Your genetic adaptability is a technology we wish to acquire." "It's not a technology," President Han said. "It's who we are." Vos stood straighter. "Then we have reached an impasse. The Marin High Council has authorized me to make our position clear. Either humans will provide what we require voluntarily, or we will take it." The room went completely silent. "Are you threatening us?" President Han asked quietly. "I am stating facts," Vos replied. "We have studied your defensive capabilities. You cannot stop us if we choose to collect specimens." President Han stood up. "This meeting is over. You will leave Earth orbit immediately." "You misunderstand," Vos said. "We are not asking permission anymore." As Vos turned to leave, Da moved closer to Hyun. "It's happening just like the other species they encountered," he whispered. Outside the windows, more Marin ships appeared in the sky. Dozens of them, then hundreds, forming a silver net around the planet. President Han turned to her military advisors. "How long until they can position for an attack?" 24 hours at most," one general said. Han nodded grimly. "Then we have 24 hours to prepare our defense." As the council room emptied, Commander Park stayed behind with Captain Hyun. "Their ships outnumber ours 5-1, she said quietly, "and their technology is more advanced." Hyun looked out at the silver ships filling the sky. "Yes," he agreed, "but they don't understand what they're fighting for. They were made in labs. We were born in love. That makes us different." "Is that enough to win a war?" Park asked. Hyun didn't answer. He didn't know. Admiral Jun Kang stood in the main control room of Earth Defense Headquarters. Large screens showed the Marin ships surrounding Earth. There were hundreds of them now. Time left, June asked. 18 hours before they're in attack position, an officer replied. June looked at the people around him. They were the best military minds on Earth, but even they looked worried. We need a plan, June said. Something they won't expect. Captain Hyun, who had been called to join the defense team, stepped forward. Sir, I've been thinking about what makes us different from the Marin. Go on. They were created in labs for specific jobs. They think the same way, follow the same patterns, but humans are all different. We're unpredictable. June considered this. You're saying we should use our unpredictability against them? Yes, Hyun said. And something else. The Marin don't understand our emotional bonds. They don't have families. A slow smile spread across June's face. I think I see where you're going. Continue. 6 hours later, the plan was in motion. Instead of using traditional military units, Earth's defense ships were being reorganized. Families, friends, people with close bonds were being placed together on the same ships. Hae-yeon checked her fighter ship one last time. She had been a pilot for 5 years. But this mission was different. Her childhood friend Min would be flying beside her. Remember when we used to climb trees at my grandmother's house? Min asked, as they prepared. Hae-yeon smiled. You always climbed higher than me. And you always found the best hiding spots when we played games. They had known each other for 20 years. They could almost read each other's thoughts. All across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Siblings were paired together. Married couples worked side by side. Friends who trusted each other with their lives took up positions together. Commander Park's voice came over the communication system. All ships, check in. One by one, the Earth ships reported ready. They were outnumbered, but there was no fear in their voices. They were fighting for their families, their homes, their way of life. On the main Earth defense ship, Admiral June addressed his crew. The Marin think they're superior because they were designed in labs. They think love makes us weak. Today, we'll show them they're wrong. In space, the smaller Earth ships took positions. They were arranged in groups unlike any normal military formation. The Marin would be expecting standard attack patterns, but they wouldn't get them. Hae-yeon and Min moved their fighters into position near Jupiter. They were part of a special team that would attack from behind while the main fleet engaged from the front. This is crazy, Min said over the radio. They outnumber us so much, but they don't know what they're fighting for, Hae-yeon replied. We do. On the Marin command ship, High Chancellor Voaz watched the human fleet with confusion. Their formation makes no sense, he said to his officers. It defies all battle logic. Perhaps they are surrendering, one officer suggested. No, Voaz said. They are planning something unexpected. Prepare all ships. Back on Earth, families gathered in safe places, watching the news. Parents held their children close. This was what the Marin would never understand. Humans would fight harder for those they loved than for anything else. Admiral June looked at the clock. The time had come. All ships, he said calmly into his communicator. Remember who you're fighting for. Remember what makes us human. He paused, then gave the order that would begin the battle for Earth's future. Engage. Across the solar system, the Earth ships began to move, not in the perfect, ordered lines that the Marin expected, but in fluid, unpredictable patterns that reflected the human spirit itself. The battle for humanity had begun. The space between Earth and Mars lit up with flashes of light. The Marin ships moved forward in perfect lines, like a giant silver net closing around Earth. Their weapons fired in exact patterns, all at the same time. They move like machines, Admiral Jun said, watching from the command ship. The Earth ships scattered, each group following their own path. This confused the Marin. They had expected the human ships to follow standard battle plans from Earth's military history. Group 7, move to Sector 4, Jun ordered. Group 3, provide cover. Hae-yeon and Min flew their fighters through a gap in the Marin formation. They had played flight games together since they were children. Now they moved their ships like they were dancing, always knowing where the other would be. 3 Marin ships on your left, Min called out. Hyun didn't reply with words. She didn't need to. She twisted her ship in a way only Min would expect, and he followed, both firing at the same moment. 2 Marin ships exploded, but there were so many more. Across the battle, the Marin pushed forward. Their ships were bigger, their weapons stronger. They broke through the first line of Earth's defense easily. We are losing ships too quickly, Commander Park reported to Admiral Jun. At this rate, they'll reach Earth in 2 hours. Jun nodded grimly. We need to change our approach. Tell Captain Hyun to begin Operation Family. The Serenity Captain Hyun's ship, was hiding near a small moon. Now it moved forward, leading a group of ships toward a different target, not the Marin warships, but a large transport vessel behind them. On the main screen, Hyun could see the transport was filled with smaller pods. Those must be their collection vessels, he said, for taking human specimens. His sister's family was on Earth, in a city that would be directly under those collection vessels. The thought of his niece and nephew being taken by the Marin made Hyun's heart cold with fear. All ships target the transport's engines, he ordered. The Marin noticed too late. They had been focused on the main battle. Hyun's group hit the transport hard, damaging its engines. Sir, 5 Marin warships are breaking off to protect the transport, an officer reported. Hyun knew what that meant. His ship would likely be destroyed. But if they could stop the transport, thousands of people would be saved. Continue the attack, he said calmly. The Marin warships surrounded the Serenity . On the Marin command ship, High Chancellor Vos watched with confusion. The human captain is sacrificing his vessel to save a target of no military value, Vos said. This defies logic. His officers agreed. Their battle plan makes no sense. They are fighting in small groups instead of combining their firepower. Meanwhile, Hyun and Min had joined another group of fighters. They were targeting a weak point in the Marin formation. If we hit them here, Hyun said, pointing to her screen, we can break their pattern. Min understood immediately. It was like a game they used to play. Find the weak spot in the other team's defense. They led their group in a tight, twisting attack. The Marin ships tried to adjust, but couldn't predict where the human ships would go next. A gap opened in their formation. All ships through that gap now, Admiral Jun ordered when he saw the opening. Earth ships poured through the break in the Marin line. It wasn't a big victory, but it showed something important. The Marin could be surprised. The Serenity was taking heavy damage. Captain Hyun held onto his chair as the ship shook. Sir, we can't take much more, an officer said. Hyun looked at the transport ship. Its engines were damaged, but it was still moving. Get everyone to the escape pods, he ordered. Then set a collision course. Sir, we're going to ram it. As the crew rushed to the escape pods, Hyun stayed at the controls. He thought of his sister, her children, all the families on Earth. For the ones we love, he whispered as he set the final course. The Serenity crashed into the transport ship. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that lit up space. On the command ship, Admiral Jun watched silently. Then he spoke into his communicator. Captain Hyun has shown us the way. Fight not just with your weapons, but with your hearts. The battle continued, but something had changed. The humans were fighting in ways the Marin could not understand or predict. Because the Marin had never known love, and they were about to learn how powerful it could be. Rix woke up in a small room with white walls. His head hurt. The last thing he remembered was his research ship being hit during the battle. Now he was here, on Earth, a prisoner. The door opened, and a human female walked in. Rix recognized her from the cultural exchange. Dr. Kim, he said, I am your prisoner. We prefer guests with limited freedom, Dr. Kim replied. She sat down across from him. How do you feel? Rix found this question strange. His feelings were not important. I am functioning at 82% capacity. Some damage to my outer shell. Dr. Kim smiled a little. We call that skin, not outer shell. And I meant, how do you feel emotionally? Rix blinked his large black eyes. Marin did not discuss emotions. They were inefficient. I will provide any information required, he said instead. I am a scientist, not a military unit. Good, Dr. Kim nodded. Because we want to show you something. A human male entered the room. He wore a uniform with a weapon at his side. This is Security Officer Ta, Dr. Kim said. He will be your guide and guard. Ta did not look happy about this job. Follow me, he said to Rix. No sudden movements. They left the room and walked down a hallway. Rix expected to see a laboratory or military facility. Instead, they went outside into bright sunlight. They were in a place with many small buildings and green spaces. What is this location? Rix asked. It's a neighborhood, Ta said, where people live. Why am I being shown this? Dr. Kim walked beside them. Because you need to understand what you're fighting against. They passed a place where small humans played on colorful equipment. Rix had studied human development and knew these were children. They were laughing and running. Some fell down and cried, then got up and played again. Inefficient learning process, Rix commented. Todd frowned. That's not learning. That's playing. What purpose does it serve? It makes them happy, Dr. Kim said simply. They walked further and saw larger humans watching the small ones. These must be the parents. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the sky. One of the Marin ships was flying overhead. The people looked up in fear. A small human girl fell while running and hurt her knee. She began to cry. Immediately, a larger human ran to her, picked her up, and held her close. Observe, Dr. Kim said to Rix. What do you see? The adult is comforting the child. Rix said, this is expected behavior. No, Dr. Kim shook her head. Look closer. The adult is the child's mother. She is afraid of your ships, afraid for her own life, but her first action is to protect her child. She puts the child's needs before her own. Rix watched as the mother kissed the child's knee and wiped away her tears. The child stopped crying and wrapped her arms around the mother's neck. This is the bond we've been trying to explain, Dr. Kim continued. It cannot be grown in a lab or programmed into a brain. It develops through love and care. They continued walking and came to a building where many humans had gathered. Some were injured from the battle. Others were bringing food and blankets. More family units? Rix asked. No, Ta said. Most of these people are strangers to each other, but they help because they care about other humans. Rix found this confusing. If they are not family, why sacrifice for them? Because that's what makes us human, Dr. Kim said. As night fell, they took Rix to a small house where a family was eating dinner. Despite the battle raging in space, they had set an extra place at their table. You will stay here tonight, Dr. Kim told Rix. Watch. Learn. Is this a test? Rix asked. No, she replied. It's an education. That night, while the family slept, Rix heard a message from the Marin fleet. They were planning a final attack to break Earth's defenses. For the first time in his existence, Rix felt something strange. He did not want these humans to be hurt. The feeling made no logical sense, but it was there. It felt like a malfunction, but perhaps it was something else. Perhaps it was the beginning of understanding. The battle had raged for 3 days. Earth's ships were fewer now, but they were still fighting. The Marin had lost many ships too, confused by the humans' unpredictable tactics. In the small house where Rix was staying, he watched the human family prepare for another day of uncertainty. The father, a doctor, was leaving for the hospital. The mother was packing food for people in the shelter. Their 2 children were drawing pictures to make people happy, they said. Dr. Kim entered the house, looking tired but determined. "Rix," she said, "we need your help." Rix tilted his head. "What can I do? I am your prisoner." "You can talk to your people," she said. "The Marin High Command has called for a final attack. They will send all their remaining ships against us." Ta, who had been guarding Rix, stepped forward. "We can't win that fight. Too many will die, on both sides." Rix considered this. In the 3 days he had spent among humans, he had seen things that didn't match what the Marin believed about them. These humans were not just random genetic accidents. They were connected to each other in ways the Marin were not. "What do you want me to say to them?" he asked. Dr. Kim sat down across from him. "The truth. That there's another way. That what the Marin want from us, our adaptability, our creativity, doesn't come from our DNA alone. It comes from how we live, how we love." Rix stood up. "I will speak to High Chancellor Voss, but he may not listen." Within an hour, a secure communication link was established. The face of High Chancellor Voss appeared on the screen. He looked surprised to see Rix. "Scientist Rix," Voss said, "you were reported lost." "I was captured," Rix replied, "but I have learned important information about humans." Voss leaned forward. "What have you learned that our studies didn't show?" "The human traits we want, their adaptability, their creativity. They don't come from their genetics alone. They come from their way of life, from what they call love." Voss frowned. "Explain." Rix tried to find the right words. "Their young are not programmed for specific roles. They develop through interaction with others, through emotional bonds. This creates unexpected mental patterns, new ways of thinking. We can study this in our labs once we collect enough specimens," Voss said. "No," Rix said firmly. "It doesn't work that way. Taking them to labs would destroy what makes them special. I've seen it myself." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "High Chancellor, I am Dr. Kim. I have a proposal." Voss looked at her with cold eyes. "Speak. Instead of trying to take our genetic material, let us teach you. Let a small group of Marin live among us. Let them experience what it means to be raised with love, not just programming." Voss was silent for a long moment. The Marin valued knowledge above all else. This was a form of knowledge they had never considered. "You would do this despite our attack?" he asked. "Yes," Dr. Kim said, "because that's what humans do. We find ways to connect, even with those who are different from us." The human family that had hosted Rix joined them. The mother spoke up. "We would welcome a Marin child into our home. We would raise it as our own." Voss seemed confused by this offer. "Why would you do this?" "Because every child deserves love," the mother said simply, "even those born in labs." Rix felt something strange inside him, a feeling he had no name for, but it felt right. "High Chancellor," he said, "I request to stay on Earth as the first observer in this experiment. I believe what they offer is valuable." Voss thought for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "The attack will be delayed. I will discuss this proposal with the High Council. Perhaps there is knowledge here we have not considered." As the communication ended, Dr. Kim turned to Rix. "Do you think they'll agree?" Rix looked at the human family, at the children's drawings, at the simple home filled with signs of love and care. "The Marin seek knowledge above all else," he said, "and I believe there is knowledge here that cannot be found in any lab." For the first time since the Marin arrived, there was hope for peace. 5 years had passed since the battle between humans and Marin. The sky over Earth no longer held warships but peaceful research vessels. The experiment had begun. Dr. Kim walked through the special school built for both human and Marin children. 10 Marin children had been created in the Genesis chambers, but raised from infancy by human families. 10 more were raised by both human and Marin caregivers together. Today was a big day. The High Chancellor himself was visiting to see the results. In one classroom, Dr. Kim paused to watch a small Marin child with blue skin. Her name was Su Bin, and she was drawing a picture with colorful markers. Next to her, A human boy was building a tower with blocks. When his tower fell, Subin looked up from her drawing and moved to help him rebuild it. "Did you see that?" whispered Subin's human foster mother, who stood nearby. She noticed he was sad and helped him. She did it on her own. Dr. Kim nodded. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Marin children were developing empathy, something no lab-grown Marin had ever shown before. Soon and her husband Jin had been the first to volunteer to raise a Marin child. It had not been easy. Subin had no natural instinct for emotional connection. They had to teach her everything. How to play, how to share, even how to hug. High Chancellor Vos arrived with his delegation. With him was Rix, now the official Marin ambassador to Earth. Rix had changed in 5 years. He smiled when he saw Dr. Kim, something no Marin had done before this experiment. "Welcome, High Chancellor," Dr. Kim said. "We're ready to show you what we've learned." They toured the school, observing classes where Marin and human children learned together. The Marin children were different from their lab-raised counterparts. They asked questions. They tried new things. They played. Their cognitive development is remarkable, one Marin scientist noted. They solve problems in ways we didn't program. "We didn't program them at all," Dr. Kim said gently. "That's the point." They stopped at the art room. Subin was showing her drawing to Jin, who had just arrived. It was a picture of their family, 2 human figures and 1 blue Marin child, all holding hands. "That's beautiful, Subin," Jin said, kneeling beside her. "Is that us?" Subin nodded. "Family," she said. A High Chancellor watched this exchange with great interest. "The child uses the human concept of family," he observed. "She is part of a family," Rix explained. Sun and Jin don't just care for her needs. They love her. They continued to the playground outside. The children were playing a game, chasing each other and laughing. Then one small human girl fell and scraped her knee. She began to cry. Before any adult could move, Subin ran to the girl. She helped her up and patted her arm. "Don't cry," Subin said. "It will be okay." The High Chancellor stood very still, watching this scene. "This behavior was not programmed," he said quietly. "No," Dr. Kim agreed. "She learned it by being cared for with love." Later, they gathered in a meeting room to discuss the experiment's results. The data was clear. The Marin children raised with love showed creativity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence, far beyond what any lab-raised Marin had achieved. "We've been trying to engineer what can only be grown," Rick said. "These children have something no Genesis chamber could create." "And what is that?" the High Chancellor asked. At that moment, they heard laughter from outside. Subin was playing with Sun and Jin in the garden. Subin was laughing, a sound never before heard from a Marin child. "That," Dr. Kim said simply, "joy." The Earth-Marin Peace Accord was signed the next day. The 2 species would share their strengths, Marin technology and human emotional wisdom. More Marin children would be raised with love, not just programming. As Sun and Jin left with Subin, the little blue child held their hands. "I love you," Subin said, using words she had learned from them. Nearby, Subin's Marin biological designer watched with wonder. The most advanced thing in the universe, it turned out, wasn't created in a lab. It was born in love.